Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Inshallah ta'ala, bismillah ta'ala, everybody is in the best state of iman, staying focused on trying to become a better Muslim and trying to achieve Jannah. So I kind of want to speak about, seeking knowledge or studying, trying to get your ilm up. Some of the mistakes I've made, some of the things that worked out for me, and the importance of it. Because somebody hit me up and asked me a question about, seeking knowledge and who to take from and these new terminologies and different things. It said, which you definitely have to be careful who you take your knowledge from. And I'll touch on a little bit of that as well, inshallah ta'ala. So I want to answer that for the brother. When he asked me, what some of my shortcomings, some of my weaknesses. My main weakness as of now that I'm hard on myself is memorization. I don't feel like I have enough Quran memorized. Allah took some of it away from me due to me switching qirats and trying to learn a different qirat, Warsh. I want Warsh. And may Allah bless me to get the Warsh recitation one day. In this life or either in the next. So a lot of my downfall with Warsh was being unable to retain a teacher that was sufficient enough in Warsh. Everybody want to force you into Hafs, which like right now, generally people who got a Quran right now, especially if you bought it in America, chances are 99.9% of the chances is going to be the Qirat is written in Hafs. So I don't have enough Quran memorized. Memorizing and retaining 99 names of Allah. I memorize them, stop using them, then, try to go through them, may get 50, may get 20, be scatterbrained. So I don't retain them because I don't take care of it. I don't use them enough. Especially with like right now and last night, I'm doing a little studying and going through different hadiths and stuff about the Dajjal. And, just knowing for years and always going back and forth with the Dajjal and the signs of the Dajjal. That's one thing we really need to focus on is learning about the Dajjal and the ways to protect yourself from the Dajjal. And just knowing that the ayahs and stuff that I should have memorized. And I done started, stopped, not try to memorize them for a whole year, work on them for about a month, then fall off and let 2 years go by and not memorizing certain things for the Dajjal. And wallahi, I was thinking about that last night because I was looking at some things concerning the Dajjal and it just kicked in my head like, you still don't have those ayahs and things memorized to protect you from the Dajjal. So that's really like as far as a major shortcoming. But I always look at myself and say, in the beginning, I had shortcoming in everything. I had a shortcoming in everything. So like some of my strong points is definitely fasting. Alhamdulillah, may Allah allow me to get better at it. night prayers, Qiyam al-Layl, Tahajjud, Tarweeh, definitely some of my strong points. Alhamdulillah, and may Allah allow me to only get stronger at it. So things like as far as ibadah, chasing ibadah, implementing a lot of actual hadiths the way that they should be implemented, that's tied to the Quran. So actually being able to implement a lot of the Quran, I ain't gonna say a lot, but some of my daily implementations, I can comfortably say what I'm doing comes from the Quran, because I know the tafsirs and I know the hadiths that go with it. Reading, studying, researching, some of my strong points. So like, those type of things, not saying that it's guaranteed that Allah gonna accept it from me, and I could definitely I can always get better. But memorization, like a lot of du'as. I have some du'as, and then I don't necessarily have to use them because they be specific things, and then something happen, like if you feel a pain in your body, or you all of a sudden you get some pink eye or something like that, and then the du'as that you use, that specific du'a that you use, I have it, then I might not need to use it for a year, then a year come by, and then I had to think to myself like, whoa, and then I had to get, my Fortress of a Muslim, or I had to bust one of the books back out to get those du'as memorized. When I hear thunder, I have it. The next thing you know, I hear some thunder, and then I get to trying to ramble through my head. What we refer to as tashahhud. I might touch on it. There's different versions of tashahhud. Some people say tashahhud, so whatever you say, I say tashahhud a lot. So tashahhud, whatever you comfortable with, but in the middle of the salat, and at the end. There's different versions of tashahhud, right? Where some have extra more benefit than others. So sometimes being able to hold on to all the different ones, like the very first one that I learned, alhamdulillah, I don't forget that one. But sometimes when I want to use some of the other ones, I get stuck on it and have to resort back to the very first one that I learned, because some of them have different benefits. I might go through some hadiths and read them one of these days. I have to make istikhara about it, because sometimes when you talk about stuff that people ain't never heard before, and people will get to hitting me up, that's a deviant, all type of stuff, but they just not familiar with it. So memorization, so like those type of things, I definitely got to work on it. My Arabic. Sometimes I be deficient on both ends. So like sometimes when I'm listening to somebody talk, I might, and they talking, I understand what they're saying, I know what they're saying, but because it's not a conversation that I have a lot, and sometimes the Arabic, because of the grammar, the sentences be kind of backwards. So it's not in my head. I have to put the sentence together in order to respond. So sometimes I be a little slow on that, and then sometimes having my response and putting my sentence together in conversations I'm not used to having, I had to piece it up. I had to say it real slow. So I have some deficiencies in my Arabic, and then I don't get to use it as much as I want in conversation. When I'm reading and researching, I'm looking at it, and then a lot of times I have to bust out the dictionary and use certain things, and I might have to take 2 hours just to go through one page, using the dictionary and things like that. But So reading and different things like that, yeah, alhamdulillah. I read from my Musaf every night, because I'm not a Hafid. So when I do Tahajjud, I read from a big Musaf. So, but in conversation, because I don't have enough people to talk to in Arabic, sometimes my listening break down, and sometimes putting my sentences together fluently quick. Sometimes that take me a little minute. Like I might have to be like, say a few words and then, like that. So that's part of my weakness that I need to work on. My Arabic and my memorization. Definitely some shortcomings. And like I say, man, may Allah Azza wa Jal strengthen me in those things and bless me with tawfiq in those areas and allow me to be more mindful. Like I got a set schedule to where I'm going to start doing these things twice a day. I just had to start doing it. I have a set schedule when I'm going to start on it because I do so much. So it's just about squeezing it in. So as far as studying and trying to learn Islam and some of the mistakes that I've made and some of the things I wish I knew. Some of the things that I wish I knew in the very beginning, and these things stifled me. Listening to all of the foolishness that I was told about hadiths in the 90s. See, you got to understand, I became Muslim as a 13-year-old kid. You know what I'm saying? I became Muslim as a 13, 14-year-old kid. And I accepted Islam for what it was, for the religion. I didn't accept Islam to get married or it was a part of the gang. I fell into some of the gang stuff, but that wasn't why I accepted it. And I'm mentioning that because some people accept Islam under different pretenses. I know people who became Muslim because it was the new cool. It was the new trend. I know brothers who done told me out of their own mouth. They went to the federal penitentiary. The Muslims ran the penitentiary as far as not letting people get raped or getting beat up and get their stuff took just because they was weak. Just letting people overpower people. The Muslims wouldn't allow the people to oppress other people, even if they wasn't Muslim. You wasn't going to do that while they was standing around looking at it. So they became Muslim for protection. And then, because they in the feds, they gang is in their city. They not strong in the feds like they would be in their state. You all on the other side of the earth with people that you might not even know one person in there, like you would in your city if you get locked up in your state. So, he became Muslim, ended up becoming, once it attached and got in his heart, excellent Muslim. But I'm mentioning that because some people who accept Islam for those certain things, I know brothers who accepted Islam for a Muslim sister. I know some sisters who accepted Islam for men. So depending on what they accepted Islam for, their path be kind of different. As far as trying to seek knowledge, how serious they are, what all they want to implement, their struggles and this and that, because they accepted Islam for something other than a religion. So when it comes to the religion, when it comes to the fasting, when it comes to the salats, when it comes to the extras, they struggle with it. They have issues with it because they didn't accept Islam for the religion and what comes with it. Having love in their heart for the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and not wanting to violate what Allah sent him with and the rules and regulations that he brought for us to implement. They have issues with them because they didn't accept Islam for what it come with. It was a part of their gang. They met a brother who they felt like he was a top, generally he was the only Muslim they knew. Like, I know a particular person, and they was with a Muslim brother for 20 some years. So what they seen from him is what Islam was. So like, let's say he did birthdays. Let's say, you know, he did every other thing, Valentine's Day and everything like that, but he didn't necessarily do Christmas and Thanksgiving. And then they ended up accepting Islam, but because they seen all these other things up under him, you can't convince them that they need to stop doing that. I was with a Muslim 20 years. You know, I ain't had to, you know, covering, you know, these different things they have an issue with. Or they have a struggle with because they was with a Muslim 20 years and was never taught any of this stuff was wrong. You know what I'm saying? And then like with me knowing them, sitting up telling them the whole time, you know, no disrespect, but that's Vice Lord Islam. No, okay, well, all right. You know, when you get in a real classroom, you will see. You know what I'm saying? That's gang-banging Muslim. You know what I'm saying? Not saying they don't love Allah, not saying they don't love certain things, but as far as what this deen come with, that's not part of it. And now they know. But so sometimes the path is affected and a little tainted. And some of us might be companions with people who accepted Islam for what other than what Islam is. And they don't know how to get us over certain humps because they haven't never got over them. So that's why I say one of the things that I regret is what I was told about hadiths. Hadiths was superstition. Hadiths came so many years after the Prophet and it's made up and all these other things. And I believed it for years just based off of these people. They've been Muslim 20 years, but you know, they did 27 years in prison, became Muslim, they 7th year of being in prison, and was Muslim for 20 years in prison, and then they come home and I bump into them and they telling me some batil about how hadith superstition. But because they've been Muslim 20 years and I accepted it. So then when I finally got some hadiths and started dealing with Bukhari, other different groups with certain names, they used to say things like, you can't read Sahih Bukhari, you can only read Sahih Muslim, because Sahih Muslim is stronger. Stay away from Tirmidhi, stay away from Dawood. All those hadiths is weak. Sheikh Albani said this, Sheikh Albani said that. Not knowing Sheikh Albani ain't said some of this. So that's what I did. I stayed away from Tirmidhi for a very long time. I stayed away from all of them. I did have Sahih Bukhari, alhamdulillah, read the whole set. Ended up getting Bukhari, I ended up getting a set of Muslim because me and a group of Muslims who started to get together and study. So one of the brothers who was married to a sister who was Salafi, right? Now, she was from a group of the Salafis that felt like you don't read Sahih Bukhari, you only read Sahih Muslim. So in order for her husband to study with us, and you know, he was able to come around because I'm Salafi, which I do recognize Salafi has broken up into 2 different groups. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not I'm not going to go into details, but I'm just going to say I'm not one of those who, you know. But anyway, so I ended up ordering a set of Muslim so that he could come study with us, because she was from the Salafi side. And like, don't get me wrong, all Salafis don't believe this. This was a very long time ago. This was in like 2008, 2009. And so I got a set of Muslim, Sahih Muslim, and well, I mean, like the people were saying that back in the early 2000s. Some of the Salafis used to believe you couldn't use Sahih Bukhari. That's just a fact. Not saying they still do, but you could only use Sahih Muslim. So in 2010, when he was able to come study with us, I got Muslim and Bukhari because I wanted to show them it's a lot of the same hadiths in them. And, you know, but anyway, not to get too detailed about that. And I started taking some major college courses to where I had to have these hadiths. But look, this was in 2017 or 18. So I just went ahead and bought all the 6 mother books of hadith because I had to have them. The rest of them, I went ahead and bought Dawood, Tirmidhi, Nasa'i, and Ibn Majah to go along with my Bukhari and Muslim. And the first thing I did was I opened up Tirmidhi, and I kept the book with me for 3 days, taking it to work, just reading it, Tirmidhi, and fell in love with it. And I couldn't believe I allowed Muslims to dupe me into staying away from Tirmidhi, and Dawood, and Nasa'i, and Ibn Majah. And we talking about years. I got a full set of Sahih Bukhari in 2003. In 2003, I bought a full set of Sahih Bukhari. And by 2006, nope. 2007, Ramadan of 2007, I finished. I was completely done. So it took me almost 4 years to complete the full set of Sahih Bukhari. But had I known, I would have got all the books of hadith then. It took for me to be in a class where I was forced to have access to them, and I'm a book person. So that's one mistake that I made, the stuff that I allowed people to tell me about hadiths. And certain other books. I had an excellent book back then called Minhaj al-Muslim. When I got Sahih Bukhari, another brother told me you need to get a book of fiqh. So they told me Minhaj al-Muslim. They named a couple of others. So I went to Dar es Salaam and pulled up under the fiqh section, and then they had Minhaj al-Muslim, and I seen it's categorized as fiqh, but it was real hadith based, and I was a hadith person, so I got Minhaj al-Muslim. And like I said, because it was quoting hadiths from Tirmidhi, it was quoting Dawood, and it had a lot of things, but it is, you know, Minhaj al-Muslim, the way of the Muslim, right? It had a lot about masjid etiquette, how to carry yourself. So I read it with a grain of salt. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I'm reading it, but I didn't absorb it because I let other people, you know, nah, we don't do that. You don't know who that author was. And then the person who actually did the book, he was actually a teacher in the Prophet's masjid. But, you know, some of the people I was sitting around, he's not known, this individual's not known to the scholars. You know, some of this rhetoric that was passed around, and sometimes they still do it today. It's not as bad as it used to be. But they had never even read the book, looked into it. They didn't even agree with Sahih Bukhari at this time. So I kind of listened to it and took it with a grain of salt, but when I went and got in classes, I never got rid of it. And I remember until then, I had advised a couple other people to get it, but years later, when I got in class, I went back and read it. And I said, man, I couldn't appreciate how beautiful this book was. Minhaj al-Muslim, 2-volume set. Beautiful. It break down a lot of etiquettes. It just basically fiqh, But it's not one-sided fiqh where it's just Hanafi, or it's all Hanafi, it's all Shafi, it's all Hanbali. It basically go through the issues, and then what they do is, with all these issues, it address the issue with dalil from the Quran, dalil from a hadith, and then what the scholars say. And then it'll let you know if the scholars differ. But I didn't know how to appreciate that book. So that's one thing that I regret when it came to seeking knowledge like that. And then I allowed these same groups to take hadiths out of my hands, and I started picking up all these little different minhaj out books. Now, some of these little books that we refer to as minhaj, like the disease in his hearts and his cures, minhaj, iman booster books. But what I noticed was this started to move the ummah in a direction to where hadiths and different things was being taken out of the hands of the Muslims. Because like I said, at this particular point in time, dalil, like you couldn't even really talk without dalil. And if your dalil didn't start with a Quran with the tafsir ayat and a hadith from Bukhari or Muslim, because they was the most authentic books of hadith, it wasn't dalil. You know what I'm saying? And then like I said, one side, you can only use Muslim. We don't do Bukhari. Sheikh Albani said this and that. And then the other one, no, Bukhari is the most authentic and we don't use Muslim. But this is because a lot of people wasn't properly educated. So that's some of the regrets that I have. I could have became a lot further. And with the Imam Booster books, it left a lot of room for people to bring in their own opinion and interpretation of things, and people started to lose being able to look at hadiths. And then dalil turned into, well, Sheikh Fulan said, and Sheikh Fulan said, but by us not having any Arabic, we didn't know if Sheikh Fulan said that or not. Pardon me. So we really didn't have no way of knowing that. But by me had been, I'm not going to say strong in hadith, but I had read all of Sahih Bukhari. And any issue that was going on, I knew how to go to the books and look them up. At this time, it wasn't on the internet. You couldn't go pull up Sahih Bukhari. They didn't have apps on your phone with Sahih Bukhari and Muslim and all that. So anything that went on, I knew how to go directly to the books and this and that. So like certain things that would be discussed and this and that, I'm going to look at it in hadiths like, hold on, that's not right. Oh, well, no, you don't understand fiqh. This is fiqh. So when I seen a lot of that being brought in, I started to study fiqh. Now keep in mind, when I did read Bukhari, I didn't have no teacher. We didn't have access to any teachers or anything like that. So I was really just reading Bukhari on my own. You know, I'll admit that. A lot of the hadiths, I was reading them on my own. Minhaj al-Muslim. But I got with my first official teacher in 2012. So then when we started to go through the thing as we doing certain classes, and I was so well versed on hadiths and tafsirs, you know, that my teacher was surprised because I was American. And it was like, why you know, how you get like this with hadiths? You know, and I thank Allah because I wasn't misinterpreting, but I would have been a lot stronger had I not let them talk me away from Tirmidhi, Dawood. You know, not to be funny, but like, wallahi, I done been in certain classes in different subjects, and even with our teacher, when certain things came up, not necessarily correct them, but I was able to bring about a different point of view, and we went in a different direction based off of all the hadiths that I knew. But by this time, I got more than just Bukhari and Muslim. because they wasn't strong in hadith. So hadith wasn't their specialty. See, so that was a mistake. So like I said, Sheikh said that. And then, so then I had to, like I said, when I went to start to study fiqh, and I got a teacher who's getting a master's degree. At this point in time, he was working on his master's in comparative fiqh, but he's specializing in Shafi'i fiqh. And he's right now he got a PhD, and he's still working on another master's in Sharia. And he's at the University of Azhar in Egypt, which is an Ash'ari school, but he's not Ash'ari. So in comparative fiqh, and then that's when I started to learn scholars have specialties. So you might have a scholar, it ain't like where they refer to him as a Sheikh al-Islam, Ibn Taymiyyah, where you almost like Imam Ahmed, where like you a scholar in every science. You a scholar of hadith, you a scholar of Sharia, you a scholar of usul. So some of them just have specialties. He's a scholar of usul, but when it comes to certain aspects of fiqh, as far as when all four madhabs is involved in the fiqh, he may have some deficiencies. He may be a scholar of Hanbali fiqh, but when it comes to Shafi'i, Maliki, Hanafi, and Hadith, they have a little bit, I'm going to refer to them as weaknesses because they not a scholar of those things also. So when I started to learn that, and then started to see, sometimes these scholars have difference of opinion based off of their level of education. And it's like he might be a scholar of fiqh, so he might see this hadith different than a scholar of hadith. So when I started to learn that, I knew to look at the scholars different, because I would see some people would go to a scholar of usul and ask them, oh, well, we feel like such and such here in America, he may be this way, and we want to know, we want a ruling on him. And then the scholar, based off of what they told him, may have gave them a ruling, right? But then if they went and asked the scholar of hadith, then the scholar of hadith gave an entirely different ruling. Because scholars have, I don't want to make it sound tricky, but I wish I would have knew these things early on, because I allow people to put certain things in my mind and to feel a certain way about things in a way that I shouldn't. And like I said, I seen the process. And like even right now, when you start to see a lot of the teachings or a lot of the masjids, they not really, the books of hadiths is really almost taken out of the hands of the people. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people is just learning little books, Shar Sunnah, Kitab Tawheed, important lessons for the Muslims. Now some of your thorough ones, they may take, even now I'm even seeing this, if they're a specialist in Hanbali fiqh, they may go get like Zayd al-Mustaqni and pull out of Zayd al-Mustaqni the book of marriage and teach from that, as opposed to going to get the book of marriage out of Sahih Bukhari and teaching it from Sahih Bukhari. So then I might see a scholar or a student who may have a bachelor's or a master's in hadith. They're going to go get the book of hadith and teach the book of marriage from the book of Bukhari and Muslim. They're going to teach it straight from the hadith. But some who deal with certain levels of fiqh, I know in Hanbali, they're going to teach from Zayd al-Mustaqni. But then some people, they're not even going to do that. But it's because they can't. So when you understand to know the difference. And trust me, learn it when people teach from, a hadith student teach from the book of marriage from Bukhari, and then one teach from the book of marriage from Zayd al-Mustaqni, and this is basically Imam Ahmed fiqh version. So like some of the rulings and stuff that's in it, in the book of marriage, is heavily based off of the evidence that Imam Ahmed had available to him. You see what I'm saying? That's how certain madhabs is. But when you a person who delve in that world, you can see the difference. And then you can see certain masjids when they talk to people about marriage, and you know the community is having a lot of turmoil in their marriage because they don't know how to go to the book of marriage and hadiths or Zayd al-Mustaqni or whatever the whole volume set that's taught from Shafi'i or Hanafi. They might have to ask Islamic Q&A, which some of those be general. So those are some of the mistakes that I fell into, and I see where these things, where people who don't take the step outside of that box, and I see the education of the Muslims is just left at whoever around them is talking. Whoever around them is talking. And like I say, coming from a point of, you had to bust the book of hadith out. And you had to go through that book of hadith and say, look, you know what I'm saying? This is the dalil. Okay, they may have worded a little bit wrong in English. We get somebody who know the Arabic and to come to get the closest to it. But you had to get into those books of hadiths. That is not no more. Even to the point where I started seeing on the internet where people started using memes as dalil, and then like we be in groups. And we used to be in certain groups, and we would be blended. It's Salafis, it's Habashis, it's Azaris, it's Hanafis. It's just a blended group, and it's a whole bunch of debating and people using memes, little colorful memes with writing on it and shake this head. You know, like, hold on, man, that's not dalil. But then since the people were so duped, people were able to use dalil that's a square, and then the situation is a circle. So basically they was able to present some dalil and word it to some people to where they misunderstood it to fit the situation because they wanted to be right. They wanted to be right. And very few people was able to sit back and say, hold on, man, that's not dalil for that. That's referring to something else. But because they went to the internet and found memes and this and that, they didn't know how to go to the actual books of hadith or the books of fiqh and bring these things up or understand how hadiths work. So that's when I started to see dalil as being the loss, although people is coming with something that they're presenting as dalil, but it's not real dalil. And I started to see the breakdown, and I'm talking about this was a major thing, and this started being a major thing in like 2015, because around 2015, 16, they started having apps with hadiths. They started having PDFs of Sahih Bukhari. But you know, a lot of it was Facebook memes. So I just seen to where the Muslims was being at a loss, or to break down. So like right now at this point, I don't see any Muslims that's in an argument or a debate. They don't have a book to stand on. They can't tell you where it came from, only thing they can say is what I was told, or they might be able to pull up a article. So like right now, slowly but surely, but like I said, I seen the breakdown. And right now people say anything that they want to say. So like, and I can say this, a couple of Salafi masjids with some people with some major names, when people in the community start having issues and the imam and stuff is they going through some rigmarole, wallahi, they call me. They call me. They help get the issue together. You always, you know what I'm saying? And that's one thing I'm known for. You always got the real deal. And it's always in the right perspective. It's not twisted. It's not this and that. So, and then also some masjids, they not masjid of bid'ah. They just don't refer to their masjid as a Salafi masjid. And some of the people that's in those masjids and they start having issues with the administration, especially like when it's coming to issues with marriage and sit downs and woman getting mistreated and a brother, they call me. They call me. Wallahi. Wallahi. I'm not saying that from a bragging point of view. And you know, I'm not gonna name the masjids, especially the Salafi ones, because some of the imams, they got a major name. I'm not saying that they deficient, but some of the members, they call me. And sometimes me and the imam, it's never a but it's a hold on, wait, let's slow it down. Let's look at it this way. Let's do this. Let's go to this. Let's go to that. And we get it together. So like I'm saying, I'm mentioning that because some of these masjids, when the women and the men start complaining about issues in marriage, and they go into their masjid and, you know, they just told, be patient, sister, you got to do this, or, you know, the one who asked for a cooler, you know what they say about the ones who asked for a cooler, this, that, and the third. They get hit with those type of things. Bring them in. Let's get to the books. Then we get to what this, that, and the third, and let's work this out Islamically. A lot of that is being lost. A lot of that is being lost. And I'm not, because I did mention certain things about a Salafi masjid, I'm not saying that's what's happening in Salafi masjids, because, you know, one of the Salafis, I get to talking about, I'm kicked off the minhaj, like Salafia is something you could be kicked out of like a club. You know, like the Nation of Islam or something. You know what, we don't like, you kicked out the Nation of Islam, you suspended. You can't kick nobody out of Salafia. That's just like kicking somebody out of being a Muslim. You know what? We kicking you out of the Muslim club. You know, we kicking you off the minhaj. You can't kick me off nothing. You know what I'm saying? But this is not a club. This is not his via. This is not something that you could kick people out of. Especially when they actually own the minhaj. But anyway, I ain't gonna go into that because I don't want, you know, people, name your men. You know, that be cracking me up. When you give them, so you give them a authentic hadith and they get to talk about name your men. What you mean, name my men? Quit repeating rhetoric and figure this out. Name your men. You know, that's one of the some of their favorite saying. Name your men. You know what I'm saying? Here go a whole isnad. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, like I said, you know, and then some of the ones who not Salafis that hate Salafi, oh, that's you Wahhabi, and some of the stuff that they hit me up with, or they wanna war deem me to death. See, that's why you need to get on board with this black Muslim way and get away from all that Arab Islam with them hadiths and all that. Imam Wardeen said, when you get married, be happy and joyous and it'll be peaceful, you know. They get the one to hit me up with all type of stuff, but I'm balanced enough to sit back with all of them and say, you know, alhamdulillah, you know. I feel you. But so although, you know, this going in a circle, but that right there is just an indication, man, some of the mistakes I made and some of the things that I overcame and grew. And I'm going to be honest with you, man. Whether you listening to somebody who just talking about fiqh or a scholar said this and that, if your foundation in hadith is extremely weak, you can be duped. You could be duped. Like I ain't even gonna lie to y'all. It is some people that is mad at me for making that video about that one finger stuff. We want that. And that's ours. That's from the Black Islam, brother. Hey, whatever. I don't care what you want to call it. Give me some basis in Quran and Sunnah and let's go from there. Nah, see, you listen to the Arabs too much. These are the type of messages I get. But all right, cool, man. That's the Black Islam, you know. Have at it. Don't get mad at me, you know. But there's some people that be mad at me, man. So if you don't have a strong, you don't even got to be strong. If you're not gonna go look at the hadiths and get you some foundation in hadiths, because you can end up getting busied with other things. Sahih Bukhari is a book of Aqidah. When you fully understand Aqidah on a full aspect of more than just Aqidah is just these 5, 6, or 7 articles of faith. You know, belief in the books, belief in the angel. Aqidah is way more than just that. Trust and believe me. So, anyway, whether people want to say they branches, whatever, how slick talker they want to say it, for argument, Aqidah is way more than that. Aqidah way more than that. But you got to get your hadiths together, man. You got to get your hadiths together. For real. Like, and get your tafsirs up. Read them tafsirs and them hadiths, and you start looking at hadiths, then you'll start to look at a lot of things different. And you know, like people who, you can't sit with these, this and that, which is some truth. But they'll teach a book by Imam An-Nawawi. A lot of people don't know Imam An-Nawawi was Ash'ari. Imam An-Nawawi was Ash'ari. Imam Bayhaqi, Ash'ari. Some of your great scholars who did a lot of works, like I'm going to show, one second, let me show y'all a couple of books that I got. And this is funny. I'm going to show y'all one like with some argument. Let me show y'all something. Hold on. This one. So, let me show y'all this real quick. I like getting stuff like this. Y'all ever seen these before? Check this out. For anybody who make it this far in the video, look at these Mishwak toothbrushes. So you don't have to peel them, right? Where you can just, I want to rinse it off first. But y'all can get these Mishwak toothbrush where they already peel it, and then they splinter the thing and they twist them in there, and then look, you can get refills. So like when these get old right here, I could just replace these two, or I can replace them with one. And this is a new one. I'm going to start using it. For those who still like that sunnah of using the actual Mishwak, which this is just an innovative version, not a bid'ah, because it's still a Mishwak. It's just peeled for you, shaped up like a toothbrush, and then they splintered the tip, made a hole, and stuck it in there. Look at that. Which I know some people, oh man, you need a toothbrush. That's that Arab stuff. Hey, whatever. I'm gonna get them barakats inshallah ta'ala, that comes with the miswak, a forgotten sunnah, to miswax your teeth every time you make wudu. Or like the Rasul, when he came home, when he came out from traveling, or he came in at night, he went home, he miswaxed them teeth and stuff before he got, so these things can help. And I understand why they made them in this, because some people can't accept the stick. They've been raised up on their life on a toothbrush, so now they taking a stick and willing it into like a toothbrush form, and instead of you peeling the tip and splintering it, they put it right there. Beautiful thing. Y'all should check them out. And then get you a set of tips for replacement. And then so let's go into a couple of these books. Right here, The Branches of Iman. This right here was broken down and put together and compiled by Imam Bayhaqi. Imam Bayhaqi was Ash'ari. And these books and this and that, like a whole Aqidah courses that's from the university, at the end of some of these courses, and like this book is taught, but he was Ash'ari. But some people going to refer to him as a deviant. He's somebody you can't talk to, you can't learn from, you can't sit with. This is university. Imam An-Nawawi, who a lot of y'all listen to. I got this set of Sahih Muslim where he explained everything on hadith. Now there's more explanations, and it is in English. I got it because I like to look at some of the explanations for some of the hadiths, right? But Imam An-Nawawi, although he was Ash'ari, but he leave his Ash'ari view out because he was Ash'ari, but he was Shafi'i in jurisprudence. So when instead of putting his Ash'ari view in, he'd go to his Shafi'i jurisprudence view, because he understood he was Ash'ari and he understood everybody not Ash'ari. So out of his teachings, of course he do have stuff that's made for Ash'aris, but he leave his Ash'ari views out of it, balanced. And this excellent. I'm gonna show y'all something y'all also probably didn't know, because people always say something like, so should this be thrown away? I'm not promoting this guy, I don't listen to him, but right here in this translation of Sunan Abu Dawud, look who you got there who did this book. He only did the first 2 volumes. Yasir Qardi. Do we throw him away because he did a translation, which it was reviewed by Abu Khalil, real strong person in hadiths. You know what I'm saying? But like, some people who say something in certain masjids with dawah centers, they have these books for sale. Yasir Qardi involved in it. Do you throw it away? Anything, this and that? No, because it's still ilm in it. It's just translation. It's not like it's Yasir Qardi point of view. Of course, I wouldn't advise anybody to listen to Yasir Qardi as far as point of views, even if he was telling you how to put lotion on your hands. You know what I'm saying? But not to say at the same time, because he do have a PhD, but it's in theology, and he didn't get it from Islamic University. But Yasir Qardi does have some ilm. He's just, and the reason why I'm not going to refer to him as misguided, because didn't nobody misguide him. He misguided himself. So I would say Yasir Qardi has definitely misguided himself, but he got him. But do I throw away the Sunan Abu Dawud because he translated the hadiths from Arabic to English? And he did the first 2 volumes under some supervision? No. Do I throw away this Imam Muslim, these hadiths of Sahih Muslim, the explanations in English, because Imam Nawawi did it, or the 40 hadith of Nawawis and all these books that people study in the university because he was Ash'ari? So some of you, man, we need to get to the point where you need to have your knowledge up, because you do need to be careful who you take from. That's a fact. But the person that you taking from might dupe you as well, or you might not grow from them. So just to wrap it all up, man, when it comes to seeking knowledge, man, and me seeing the things that's lost, and knowing like when you go sit with a scholar, you might go sit with a scholar and some of these little books and this and that, but like when they really teaching and they're checking your knowledge, you learning a whole book of Sahih Bukhari. Like right now, it's some youth. It's some 14, 15-year-old people, man, in certain countries in Africa, in Kuwait, certain Arab countries. They done got the whole Sahih Bukhari memorized from front to back and can explain every hadith. We not being taught like that over here. We not being taught like that over here. We're over here, and I'm gonna say this. What I learned to do once I started to learn these certain things and dealing with different teachers, what I started to do was get a specialist in that field. And if I could find more than one, I would get more than one specialist in that field. So right now, I deal with 3 teachers of tafsir. One is a scholar, right? One is working on a master's degree in the University of Mecca, and then the other one is working on his PhD in a university in Riyadh. King, I can't think of his name, but it's one of the King's University for like certain people who was at a certain age and they couldn't get into like Mecca and Medina. They have universities in like Jeddah and Riyadh for like people who didn't get accepted in Medina because it was too many people applied. So they in some of these side universities in some of the side cities in Arabia. When it comes to hadith, I deal with a scholar, I deal with one who got a PhD, and then I deal with another one who has a bachelor's, right? And then I sit with other students that's students of, and we go through different hadiths and different things with that. I did the same thing with fiqh. You see what I'm saying? A person who is actually studying that in that field. And then the same with Sharia law. So I sit with people that's actually specializing in those fields. Because sometimes, man, our teacher, sometimes the people we sit with is a one-stop shop. Every issue, anything we need to go through, everything we go through, that one or two couple of people, but they might not specialize in that. They might not have access to people that specialize in that. You see what I'm saying? And this is because it becomes balanced. And then, like they say, if I'm dealing with 3 people that deals with tafsirs and they all on 3 different levels, then I can see their scholarship and then I can see their different point of views. Like, let me show y'all something. One more thing real quick and I'm going to wrap it up because I know my videos get long. So I had to do a class on this. The explanation of the 4 rules regarding shirk. So because of the class, and I like to have the books. So like one thing about me, like back in the day, before like YouTube and all that, and they had different little apps and websites where you could catch live classes at masjids, I would always get the book. Because sometimes, or it would be a book that I read and I would listen to the class, and a lot of times, some of the stuff they would be talking about wasn't in the books. I'm just gonna be honest. And you know, you think you listening to a class on Shar Sunnah, but you ain't never read Shar Sunnah, and then this person is talking and this and that, and they don't have a book of this and that. And I was able to sit back and say, hold on, man, where'd that come from? And with the Arab analyst, so sometimes, you know, alhamdulillah, if you don't know, you just don't know. So in this class, the 4 principles regarding shirk. So I had just got a little book, small book that was just done by Sheikh bin Baz, right? And it had the Arabic, you know what I'm saying? Some of it had the Arabic and the English in it, right? So I was doing that for the class, but I got it early before my class started. And it's just a small book. So after I read it, I said, okay, alhamdulillah. So then I went and got this one, which is explained by like 8 different scholars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 different scholars. So when I went through and read the explanation of the same book by 8 different scholars, you start to see their scholarship. Some of them actually understand it a little better than others, and some of them actually able to explain it a little bit better than others. And then some of them can have stronger dalil or more dalil to make the point stronger. So that's why I like a lot of different teachers in those fields. You see what I'm saying? Just like sometimes when I'm reading tafsirs and they use a particular hadith, I'm able to go to those hadiths and look at maybe 20, 30 more hadiths on that subject matter to get a stronger point of view. So all I'm saying is, man, these things is being lost, and it's really a detriment to the community. And I'm gonna end on this hadith. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I realized the reality of this in like 2009, 2010. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam stated in the hadith and you could look at it as this was a warning to the companions. He basically was warning them and wanted to prepare them. If y'all live long enough, y'all going to see a day where great differing is going to occur. Great differing is going to occur. And you know, of course, it was like, okay, what do we do if we live to see that day, this, that, and the third? But I just want to focus on the point where the Rasul said a lot of differing is going to occur. One, that lets you know all this differing wasn't even around at that time. To the point where they sitting back like, whoa. Well, if we ever see that day, what should we do? Like, they not doubting it because the Rasul is telling it to them. But it's like, whoa. If we see that day, what do we do? So the point is, right now, when it comes to what's legislated in Islam, there is a difference of opinion in everything. I started to notice that in 2009, 2010. There's a difference in opinion on wudu. Do you come around and wipe the head all, wipe your neck with the back of your hands and then come back up? Do you skip your hands and do from here to there? There's a difference of opinion when it comes to the salat. Do you do your hands like this? Do you keep them below your navel? Do you have them by your side? There's a difference of opinions on certain things when it comes to zakat. There's difference of opinions of when there's certain things when it's time to do Hajj. And right now, I'm just talking about the pillars. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, even when it comes to fasting, there's differences of opinion whether you can eat. You have to stop eating 45 minutes before the adhan is called. You have to break your fast before the sky starts to turn orange. You know what I'm saying? Basically, when it's still daylight, basically, there's a difference of opinions when to start fasting, when to break your fast, whether you should look at the moon, whether you should go with this moon, there, and like I say, because your pillars, you got Hajj, differences of opinions on certain things with Hajj. You got Zakat, differences of opinions on certain things when it comes to Zakat. You got Salah, differences of opinions on certain things when it comes to Salah and Wudu. Right? And then, that's your Hajj, your Zakat, your Salah, and then with your fasting. There's differences of opinion on when to break your fast, when to start eating when you got to stop eating in the morning. There is a difference of opinions on everything. Now these is the legislated things, right? Then bring in all this extra crap that other people is adding. The one fingers, the touch your chest, this is the black version, this is the Arab version, this is the Indo-Pak version, this is the African version, this is the Somali version. Then you got to mention all the extra stuff that's thrown in from Batil, from Bid'ah. And then people arguing and fighting over that and don't even know nothing about Farda lines. Know what I'm saying? Don't even know nothing about their Farda lines. So when you see that come through when Rasulullah prophesies that, and now you in that time, some of us don't even know how to stick to what exactly was the one way. Like, and like I'm gonna wrap it up. Like a lot of people don't know about the Habashis. They basically like a black group of Muslims that's Habashi because they also attach their names to Bilal. Not only like the War of Deen group, the Bilalians. See, once you learn about the Habashis, right, and some of these other groups, then you'll start to see where they got some of their rhetoric and practices from. The Habashis, and they tricky, Jack. They tricky. My first encounter with the Habashis was in 2015. So I was marrying an older sister in Philly, right? And it was interesting because Shadid Muhammad was, at this time, Shadid Muhammad had the masjid, United Muslim Masjid. So Shadid Muhammad was actually her wakil. So I had to talk to him, and then, around this time they started going through their stuff with Shadid Muhammad. So in the midst of this, he leaves the masjid. So she get this brother who was talking about he was Salafi, he was the real Salafi, and all this other stuff, right? So I talked to him, we had some conversations. Like, okay, cool, alhamdulillah. I end up going to Philly to do the sit downs, do the little nikah and all this stuff, right? So when I get up around them and I go in a masjid and I start to see some of the stuff they doing, I'm like, hold on. I thought these brothers were Salafi. You understand? Now keep in mind, there's two, not the Salafis that's like, I ain't gonna go into that. But I'm like, hold on now. So the little practices and stuff, I wasn't comfortable with them. So what I ended up doing was, when we left the masjid, I didn't accept what went on there. So we not official. So I went and looked at his Facebook page. They was Habashis. So now, while I'm in Philly, I'm sitting up like, man, y'all know such and such and them? Oh yeah, man, they Habashis. I'm like, what is the Habashis? Well, some people say Habashi because some people say Bilal, Habashi. They put Habashi on his name. There's some different things that they were saying, but basically, they attached themselves to the deen of Bilal. And they like in certain areas in Africa where, in Damascus or like Arab countries over there, Damascus, Syria, in them areas where Bilal died at or whatever, this group of Bilalians, Habashis, is a whole sect. They strong in Philly. But because they attached to Bilal, who was from the Salaf, they call themselves Salafi. Bilal is one of the Salaf. So that make them what? Salafi. But not to say all the practices they have came from Bilal. So, but when I seen them, but they real decent, real strong in Ibadah. And I didn't really get into their belief system. It was just what to sit down and what the nikah, the way that they was going to do it and where they separated. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I went through it and just looked at it to see the process. But that's just to say, man, it's getting spooky out there. And the way you had to navigate your way through those differences, man, you're going to have a foundation in Quran, Hadith, and the understanding that the companions had. If your foundation is not grouped in that, you're going to find yourself sitting around talking about, doing this little shoulder thing and all this other stuff. You're going to sit around find yourself doing something that's not even going to count because it don't come from Islam. As opposed to where you could have just been doing something that's going to count for you. And you might be running around doing this for 10 years, then you might be teaching other people to do it. They do it for 10 years, then they teach another people to do it, and then they do it for 10 years, and everybody they taught. And then by the time you pass away and by the time the Yom Qiyamah comes, just through you teaching it to one person, 1 million people may have learned that batil based from the person you taught it to. And now you got some stuff that's going to weigh against you as opposed to weigh for you. But see, people don't understand how serious this is. And because certain things, just like with the other ones, the Indians, they want to have these practices because it ties to their favorite Indian imam. These ones want to do this because it ties them to their favorite Arab imam. These individuals want to do certain things because it ties them to their favorite black imam. It don't matter where it came from. This is black Islam. This is Arab Islam. This is Indian, Pakistani Islam. No, that's nothing. When you could have been doing something from Fard al-Ain, Fard al-Kifaya. You could have been doing something that count for you, as opposed to sitting around teaching and being firm up on this and having people sitting around doing a whole bunch of stuff where the angels just sitting down like, I've been sitting there, just look at the angel. Every day of the week, for 3 years straight, I done had to write down this individual doing these bid'ahs. See, that's the part where people don't weigh in their mind. Imagine you've been doing some bid'ah, some batil, some stuff that don't even count, that don't even have a place in Islam. You do it more than you make salat. Well, I prayed 3 times a day, but I did this bid'ah 10 times a day. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. And that's the difference. You can find yourself doing something that's going to count against you when you could have been doing something that's going to count for you. Like they say, every bid'ah that a person end up in, guess what they did? They replaced something that was from Quran and Sunnah. So now you're doing something that's not going to count for you when you could have been doing something that's going to count for you. And then the even worse thing is, now you're doing something, not only is it not going to count for you, it's going to count against you. And you teaching it to people that's teaching it to people that's teaching it to people that's teaching it to people. And you're going to get a piece of that. And then sometimes the mistake that some of us make is this as well. When we find out that we've been doing something that ain't from Islam, guess what we don't do? We don't go do 2 rakats of Tawbah for that. We don't even go make the 2 rakats of Tawbah for that thing. To get the weight of it off of. Man, Allah, I'm sorry. Let me get these 2 rakats in. Dust that off me. You know what I'm saying? Anybody I taught that stuff to, Allah, let the buck stop. Don't let them get a hold of it somehow. Let me contact them and say, hey, I made a mistake in what I taught you. Call the people you told and tell them, hey, that was a mistake. We don't do that. Allah, help me get that off me. You know what I'm saying? We don't do that. But I done ran it long enough, man. So when it comes to seeking knowledge, man, I just highly advise, man, people get in them hadiths, man. Get in them hadiths. Because when it comes to actions and it comes to ibadah, how it should be done, how it should be believed, you got to go through hadiths to get that understanding. You have to. You have to. And stick with that main principle. Allah said, which Quran al-Kareem, tafsir, how it should be understood. Allah's messenger and prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said and taught and acted upon, which is your hadiths, and the people who he taught, the people who seen him acting up on it, and the people who actions he approved of and that Allah approved of, which is in your athar, which is what's called ijma. Get to the books of them athars, the narrations of them. And if you can't find it in those three things, what do you need it for? What do you need it for? Now see, just to show y'all as simple as this. Me sitting up saying, La ilaha illallah. I can get some reward for that. But then me sitting up going like this, La ilaha illallah, feeling like this make it official. Now I done lost that. And it might possibly count against me, especially if I go talk to teach other people. You have to do that when you say La ilaha illallah. See how things can count for you and count against you, all by just a little something of some foolishness. And the Rasul warned us against this. So like I said, there's a difference in everything that's legislated. Now you got all this new stuff that's coming from the black version, the Arab version, the Pakistani version, the Asian version, the African version, the Somali version. All this different stuff that's added in that means nothing. We got to get it together, man. So I'm sorry I went so long. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.